Hello, beautiful people. Thanks for finding us. I think we left a trail of breadcrumbs, but they got washed away in the tsunami out there. Welcome to this. It's the second annual member meeting. It's a really great thing. The development team at Town Hall decided to inaugurate a couple years ago, and it's just really lovely to be in the room with so many loyal members and friends all at once to reflect on what makes this place special and what we've achieved together in the last year. So you probably know who I am, just in case. I'm Ware Harmon. I've been saying that for 12 years now here at Town Hall, and I'm its executive director. And the other statement of obviousness is that we're not, in fact, in Town Hall. But that's cool because, as you also know by now, Town Hall isn't just a place where things happen. It's the community of people who come together around and through ideas. And it's also the act of coming together to learn something new or to reconnect to something familiar, to refresh your knowledge, to show support for one another or to be supported in expressing yourself in return. That all sounds kind of lofty, but this experiment, Inside Out, more on that in a second, is living out those claims that this place is more community and more coming together than the place in which that happens, even though we happen to be making a $28 million investment in that place where things happen. But that's not important right now. Right now, we're just a bunch of people who care about each other and care about ideas and care about the city of Seattle. Thank you for being a part of that group. So, the short way of saying that is that I'm sincerely glad and grateful to be standing here among you. You represent some of our most devoted partners. In fact, 41% of you in attendance tonight, or I should say you who registered and were on that table tonight, because you were the ones who braved the elements to be with us, are loyalty members in this place, which means members for 5 seasons or more, as well as some of our newest friends. Hello to the 18% of you who became members just this year. Between you, I'm told that makes, because I don't do maths, 1,260 years of consecutive membership. It's an amazing number and a meaningless one, but it's great. Now we all know we can carry that out and win some dinner parties. Before we get on to the transformational things happening at Town Hall, I want to take a moment to reflect on the season past and the work that's gotten us to this point. On your way in, you did receive, I believe, our annual report from 16-17. Spend some time with it later, and I'll pull out a few highlights right now with the helpful addition of slides. If it seems like I'm reading even more than I usually read tonight, it's because I never read with slides. I couldn't remember this. I have to go here so that I can stay on point. The short of it is, it was a huge year in a lot of ways. We presented or hosted 443 events, which actually you should know is slightly down from the year prior, 452 the year prior, 443 last year. Don't worry, we'll get back on it, we promise. 118 partner organizations and 107,778 folks came through our doors and took the pews or took the seats in our downstairs space. We hosted outstanding conversations with Thomas Friedman, Al Franken, Amy Goodman, and Michael Eric Dyson. Science events with scholars like Chris Hadfield. Actually, he's more than a scholar. He's an astronaut. Chris Hadfield, Lawrence Krauss, Eugenia Cheng. Gorgeous concerts like How the Light Gets In, which was that tribute concert to Leonard Cohen and other things lost in the last year. Blackbird Fly, Ranky Tanky, Anna and Elizabeth. We also saw unprecedented participation in our civic series. Over 20,000 folks joined us last year for political conversations on topics ranging from immigrant rights to the limits of presidential power to gaslighting and government. And as we ended the season, saying goodbye to the old Town Hall with a week of celebrations, we decided to call it Groundbreak. There it is, Groundbreak, which featured kind of greatest hits from Town Hall and from partners, longtime partners of Town Hall, like the Elliott Bay Book Company, who are with us here tonight. Let's take a second to give it up for the Elliott Bay Book Company. And Says You, and that was serendipity that their voices happen to be represented in that window, but it's also just sort of par for the course. If you've been with us for as long as you have, you know that calendar you receive in the mail every month, half of it's the stuff that our curators cook up and reflect back to you, and then the other half are the work of almost 100 different organizations in the city, in the community, who every year bring their work and use Town Hall as a platform to amplify their voices into the community. So that calendar only takes shape with the help of collaborators like that. And while we did what we do, you as members did what you do. Incredible support for this organization came in that final week. I think we raised $250,000 towards our capital project. And many of you even showed up for various celebrations in that week, including signing the tiles in the lobby, which are still there while the building's under construction. There, we actually did leave them like we told you we would. They're going to be covered over by the carpet, so they'll be there in perpetuity as quiet testimony to how much we all care about that place and its old iteration. At any rate, and some of you might even remember at 11:45 p.m. on the 30th of June, we sounded the pipes of the pipe organ one final time. We pulled out a G major chord, the People's Chord, and we sounded it hilariously. Michael Breeden actually blew through one of them, and I think it was the third, the middle of the triad. At any rate, we sounded a G major chord for the last time with that organ in the building and sort of wrung out the old. It was a really moving way to finish the first 100 years of life for that edition of the building and the first 18 years of the life of our organization. So then we handed the keys off to Raffin Construction, and in early August, they finally broke ground, so it's actually happening. The project, I want to start with a few photos. None of these are pretty. I got to be honest with you. What we've learned is that the beginning of the work is the sledgehammers swinging and the little mini diggers digging and stuff, and then it starts to get prettier and prettier again as you fill in the walls and add things back in. So what I'm about to show you is frankly sort of undistinguished, but early demolition photos, like say that one. That's the downstairs space with the shovel. Like, it's crazy, right? All that rubble and all those broken, it's a little heartbreaking and a little beautiful all at once when you're in it right now. Let's see. What am I supposed to say, actually, that is not the rambling that I'm doing? I think that what you're looking at is actually, I think we were just in the old men's room. Oh, no, that is the men's room. It looks pretty much the way the men's room actually looked before we started to, that's why I didn't recognize it, and it's, okay. So the other thing, too, I think the next shot looks into the downstairs. Okay, so this is kind of cool. It's still not really going to help you visualize, but if you remember, if any of you have seen the plans, remember that we've got a new entrance from the downtown side of the building. This is actually the view coming in from the downtown side into the new lobby and then beyond into the full volume of the downstairs space, which is the room that's going to be most transformed physically by the work that we're doing, just so you know. This project is principally about preservation, and I got to tour David Brewster, who founded the organization, as I think almost all of you know, through the building for the first time today. And David being David, we were there for like an hour and 15 minutes. He asked questions about everything. Fortunately, we had actual people who knew what was going on with the construction there to answer them for him. But we sat across the table and talked to each other afterwards and realized that the act of preserving something that is old and beautiful and generous and graceful the way that building is, especially at this particular moment in the life of our city, feels like itself, as if, even if there wasn't an organization like this there to bring life to it, it's itself kind of an intrinsically good thing. So after talking about all the ways that the organization will benefit and that the city will benefit, just knowing that at heart there is this preservation of something beautiful that's seen 100 years of life, and through the work that we're doing together, we'll get another 100. It's just nice to be reminded of that. And then this, so they were combing through, knocking down a wall one day, and they found this edition, a 1923 edition of the Morning Oregonian buried in one of the walls that'll find its way to the outside of a wall in the new building. We'll frame it and have it up for you all to see. Slide 10 is about seismic. And I think, oh, there we are. You can't read that, but all the red girders should make you feel very warm inside, because that's the reinforced steel, the steel that's going to reinforce the formerly unreinforced masonry. That'll mean that the building will withstand the big one, and so will you when you're there with us in it. And it's frankly, it's the biggest piece of the project. It's 20% of the budget of the project. And in addition to the structural steel, there are shear walls coming into the four corners of the building, and they've begun to blow those into giant tubes of concrete being sprayed into the corners of the building. Let's see. While seismic retrofits will make sure the building is safe and stable for another century, major accessibility and patron comfort upgrades will make the place more functional for our members, for members and audience members. That's the same thing. You already saw the new entrance to downstairs. The alley is being regraded directly behind the building. So it's hard to describe from that, but you'll be able to drive a vehicle up and drop off somebody with mobility. Anyone with mobility issues can be dropped off at that new west entrance and step right inside the door and take an elevator directly to the lobby level or proceed directly into the downstairs level. And there's an at-grade restroom on that level as well. So it's a huge commitment we've made. Thank you. And then I want to tell you about, on the next floor up, we're super excited about, it dawned on us as we were going through this that we were going to vacate our offices and turn them into kind of a private reception space and an extension of the lobby. And then the further we got into it, the more we realized actually we're creating another flexible venue that can be used for anything we want to do. So at the top of the rendering there, it says West Lounge. We're calling it a reading room, and it's a space that will be able to host 70 to 80 seat programs in addition to receptions like the ones that you all attend as members, in addition to being just sort of a quiet place to escape from the bustle of the lobby during other Great Hall programs. It's going to be kind of classes and other sort of special programs. It's going to be a real workhorse for the facility. We're really excited about the addition of that new space. And then, of course, we're adding the obligatory applause line of the 17 very needed restrooms right there on the lobby level, right below it, right there. So the Great Hall itself, so they want me to talk about so that was the staircase. Go back one really quick. There. So that's the underside of the staircase. That's where the restrooms are going to be. The staircase is coming out, which allows us to do two things. A, to put the restrooms there, and then you can go to the next one. That's the hole looking down from the Great Hall floor. When that hole goes away, we'll fill it in, and we'll be able to add 26, I think, beautiful seats right down front that have not previously been there. So that's a marked change that you'll notice when you get back to the building. The other thing, the Great Hall won't change very much, but there will be a large acoustic reflector floating over the stage that will, there we go. So that was, go back one more, sorry, I screwed up. Check that room out without any pews in it. Isn't that cool? It's really beautiful, and when you're standing in there, the form of the room is really revealed without the architectural detail, either the ornamental work at the top or the pews themselves. It's really quite moving to be in there right now. Okay, and so then the reflector, the dominant kind of contemporary, the only truly contemporary element you'll see, other than a little bit of exposed steel in a couple positions, is this large reflector over the stage, which will, without going into too much depth, really make this one of the finest performance environments for acoustic music, definitely in the city and frankly in this part of the country. It'll be a truly world-class concert hall that will benefit directly all the extraordinary musical organizations, both professional organizations and community organizations who use this space will have access to this quality facility for essentially the same rental rates that they're paying presently. It's pretty cool. I'm glad you think that's worth applauding. We're excited that we're able to continue to do this and maintain the model of access and commitment to access that has gotten us this far. The last thing I'll say about the listening experience is that finally we'll have our induction hearing loop system installed under the carpet where it's no longer ugly or a trip hazard. So hooray for masking tape, whatever's kept it down all these years. Okay, so there's plenty more to share, but I invite you to follow the progress of the project with weekly e-blasts and on our website, lovethistown.org. So to talk a little bit more about where we are on the campaign for the project, I want to welcome our Director of Advancement, Kevin Malgacini, and the Capital Campaign Director, Michael Breeden, to the stage. Fellows.
Thanks, Ray. So we're just going to give you a quick update on where we are with the fundraising. But before we do that, I thought it'd be a good idea to remind you where we started. Obviously, since the very beginning of David kind of founding Town Hall, we knew that we would need to renovate this building at some point. But it wasn't until 2013 that Town Hall partnered with Campbell Company Northwest to test the feasibility of funding a major capital renovation. And at that point, they told us they thought we could raise $10 to $12 million. So we got to work. And by the end of 2013, we received our first gift from Linda Brown and Larry True, and that launched us forward, that gave us momentum. And in 2014, we received 2 gifts of $2 million or more from the Bezos Family Foundation and the Wincote Foundation Northwest. In 2015, we received $1 million from the Washington Heritage Capital Projects Fund. And in 2016, we received $1.2 million from the For Culture Building for Culture. During that time, we continued to develop the project and really plan for everything that you just saw up there. And we learned that in order to actually preserve this building and set it up for another 100 years, it was going to take much more than $12 million. But luckily, along with all that institutional support, individuals from across the city were stepping up and supporting the project, including the Town Hall Board of Directors, which has collectively given more than $1.7 million towards this capital renovation project. Yeah. That support has been absolutely incredible, and it really gave us the courage to, at the beginning of 2017, commit to breaking ground within this year.
And also all of you have stepped up in an amazing way. And, we really saw that last season as we closed out the year in June. We had a goal of reaching 21 million, and we launched this big, broad community campaign, Dig Deep for Town Hall, in June. And that goal was to get to 21 million, and we were shy of that. And in those first 3 weeks of June, we just blew that away. And you all contributed in an amazing, unprecedented way. We asked you to raise $100,000 in those first 3 weeks, and you came together with more than $214,000 in those 3 weeks, and really launched us past 20 million to help us break ground. So we owe a lot of thanks to everyone in this room. Over the span of this campaign, 15% of our members have donated. And in this room alone, $1,287,955.25 has been contributed by you. And that's $5 gifts, $50 gifts, $500,000 gifts. And they all matter. This is a community project, and this is a community fundraising effort, so we're really grateful for all of you who have made a gift for this campaign.
So as you've seen, the project is now underway. We thought after Dig Deep we'd have kind of a quiet summer as far as the fundraising goes and really gear up for the end of the project. But the summer has been incredibly busy. One of the highlights was a gift from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. They're so impressed with the role Town Hall plays in the community, supporting other organizations, and they were incredibly impressed by just the sheer number of individuals who have stepped in to support this project at every single level. So they gave a gift of $750,000 just this summer. It's pretty incredible. Today we can say we're at $22.3 million committed towards the project, well on our way to $25 million. And with all of your help, we'll blow past that goal, and we'll make sure that Town Hall's really set up for success when the doors reopen in late 2018. So thank you so much for your support. We're excited to just travel alongside you on this journey, and I hope that as this process continues and we all look towards that grand reopening late in 2018, that you'll keep coming along on Inside Out with us and really exploring what it means for us to program all over the city. Thanks so much.
Thank you both. This has been long, hard, but extremely gratifying work, the planning of the building and the fundraising. And we've got a full-time staff of 26, but a core of us on the staff who've been living this fundraising in particular for 4 years now. And you guys are awesome. Thank you for everything you've done to bring this thing to life. Thanks, really. So I should hew to the script here because I'm supposed to ask you for things, not money, don't worry, but important stuff that if I just go too far off, that we'll miss it. But for now, let's just slide into Inside Out. It says long anticipated here. I don't know if it was long anticipated by you guys, but it was by me and by everybody that's been listening to us say, yeah, we're leaving next year. We promise next year. Inside Out has been in the planning for really about 5 years. Since a glimmer of an idea that we could build a season that would intentionally allow the organization to grow and to thrive through this year, rather than just sort of treading water and getting by and pretending that we all wish we could be at Town Hall. Why not try to make this an opportunity that would ultimately also set the future, like create a foundation for the future of Town Hall? And so this is really the culmination alongside the planning for the building and the fundraising of 6 total years of planning of those 3 things, all happening right now. We're grateful to all of you as members and supporters of our operations, but also to our institutional partners of this season, the True Brown Foundation, Wynkote Foundation, and also I should mention Seattle University as an anchor co-sponsor of this season. You've probably noticed on the Inside Out calendar, we're doing a lot of things at Seattle U. They've been incredibly generous to us, and it's paying off in crazy ways. Not only are we seeing lots of student engagement in programs on campus, but students are buying blocks of tickets and attending Inside Out programs in other neighborhoods too. So one of the unanticipated kind of blessings, frankly, of this project has been developing a very strong institutional affiliation with the university right around our corner that we hope will continue into the future. At any rate, our goals for this Inside Out year are essentially to keep doing what we do, delivering accessible and exceptional science, arts, and civics programs to people who already love us, as well as introducing Town Hall to new audiences, new members, new donors, and I think crucially to develop new programming musculature to learn how to build events in ever more direct collaboration with our community. And so far, this experiment's going really well. We said back in September the fall would look kind of familiar, even if the locations were new, and sure enough, we're offering Saturday family concerts, global rhythms shows, town music shows, next to science and politics and literature and everything that makes Town Hall. And it's gone so well that we've actually already hosted 59 events, I should say, in 26 different venues and neighborhoods across the city. That's in just 2 months. So we've, I think, outpaced even what we thought was possible. And there are a handful of folks from our production team who are in the room. You deserve a shout out too for packing up this carnival every night and taking it from across the city from neighborhood to neighborhood. So sorry, I'm asking you to applaud a lot tonight, but let's give it up for the production team at Town Hall. They're wonderful. So we are developing new community relationships and meeting new audiences. It's been a dream come true, quite literally, that people are wandering in off of the bike path at by Green Lake into the bathhouse for the Sam Keene program, or off of Pike Street into the events that we've done at the Summit because they saw the bright red umbrella signs and some terrific Town Hall volunteer was out there saying, you should come in and try this out, come check this out. We routinely ask folks to raise their hands if it's their first time in the house for a program, and 10 to 12 to 20 hands shoot up every single time. We've also been working with 4 terrific neighborhood steering committees, and I think there are a handful of steering committee members in the room tonight. Basically, we've created these little mini boards who advise us on things they think their neighbors will want to see, will be curious about, that will be especially meaningful and impactful in their community, directly in their communities. And also, in the second half of the year, we're turning to these steering committees to help us develop programs in direct collaboration with folks in their neighborhoods. We're gathering feedback from as many folks as we can get it from, and hearing from you is an important part of how we learn and develop that musculature that I mentioned. A few weeks ago, we began emailing a short survey to ticket holders after each event, and when you see one in your inbox, it asks you some questions about your experience of Inside Out this year, and I hope you'll take the less than 5 minutes that it takes to sort of fill us in on some prosaic things like, are we communicating about parking? Could you find the venue easily? Ways that we can serve everyone better going forward, but also some bigger questions about the nature of our programs and your experiences at events. And if you do one for the next thing you come to, do another one in a few months and tell us about that experience as well. We also have both a Town Hall staffer and a steering committee member here tonight. The membership table, I believe, is set up downstairs, and you can stop by and see Kimberly or Katie, and they'll tell you more about signing up to participate in the steering committees if you're interested. And another opportunity for engagement, which is that thanks to a grant from the Department of Neighborhoods, in the second half of the year, we'll be hiring 4 artists or scholars in community to collaborate with our Inside Out steering committees on neighborhood-specific projects, sort of by, for, about, and through each of these neighborhoods. And to fill those roles, we're taking your nominations, your suggestions. We'll ask them to work together to create a series of free public events specific to these neighborhoods, and also to lead, as we ask all of our residents, to be a part of the dialogue around the programs at Town Hall. Applications will go live next week. Keep an eye out and forward that opportunity along to anybody that you think would be a good fit for that role, and you can also shoot us an email if you want us to reach out directly to somebody to prompt them. So that's the second of the 3 calls to action. The third is helping us sustain this momentum and make the most out of this once every year in the life of our organization. Helping us this year can take a few forms. Attending events often, which on a night like tonight especially, where it's virtually impossible to get around, must feel really hard. But I honestly, when I attend a town hall show in Columbia City or in the Finney neighborhood, I take it as an opportunity to get to know a part of the city again that I've lost touch with because of the way this city has been so atomized and so kind of disrupted by the nature of development. Whether it's good or bad, it's simply a fact that the flow of the city and the ways that as neighborhoods we've communicated with each other and interacted with each other has changed fundamentally in the last couple of years. And if you in a way sort of make a commitment even to check out a program in each neighborhood, you can treat it as a way to reconnect with the wonderful bookshops and restaurants and venues that are still there in all those neighborhoods that you may have lost touch with over these years. So it means attending events. It means taking a chance on a program that might not make your cut on an ordinary Tuesday back in the old building. And it definitely means telling your friends in Columbia and Hillman City, Finney and Greenwood, University District and Ravenna, Central District and Capitol Hill, telling them about this opportunity right around the corner to try out this place that maybe they've never heard of. As our members, you are without question our strongest advocates. And you're doing more than ever to support the organization. 2 last statistics for you. Our renewing members are giving at the highest levels in the history of this organization. We're so grateful. There's one slightly downer statistic, which is that we have had fewer renewals this year, which is completely understandable, and frankly, we expected it, given the sort of oddball nature of this year. But to help us really succeed, that notion of introducing new people to this organization and making the most out of this opportunity for a first-time engagement with Town Hall is more important than it's ever been. So that's how you can help us. And to make it easy, we're going to give you, everyone in attendance tonight, 2 free tickets to invite folks to come to a program with you in the rest of the season. It's no laughing matter. We really hope you'll use those tickets. But honestly, I hope you'll take that responsibility seriously. Not only is it an investment in this particular year, but it's really an investment in the future of this organization. Somebody, just think about folks you can invite, and I hope you will join us in that. And early in the new year, we will host a special reception for you and your invitees through this program. And hopefully by then, full disclosure, we might ask them to consider becoming a member in the place. So as always, there's a lot more I could rattle at you, but it's time for me to stop talking and to maybe take a few questions with Kevin that you might have about anything we've talked about or anything we haven't. And we'll start right there. What is our relationship with the Seattle Public Library? It's great, although what we typically provide for them is additional space when they've got programs that are too big for the wonderful Microsoft Auditorium at the Central Library. And since we can't provide that for them this year, we're only fellow travelers. We worked with them on the very first program of the season with Nancy Pearl, and we've helped promote some of their programs, and they've been great supporters of us too. So. They do.
It sounds like a really good overlap.
That's great. That's a good point. So we charge $5 for our tickets, which is the sacredest thing about our fantastic library system in this community is that programs at the public libraries are free. So we haven't been offering programs in their facilities, but there's long been a strong connection there, and it's only strengthened. The director of their public programs is Stesha Brandon, our former program director. So it gets tighter knit all the time, and we'll definitely continue to work with them going forward. Who else? Right there. Oh yeah. I'll repeat it, but you can also come to the mics if you are close enough. How about? But go ahead.
If you folks considered continuing the outreach to the unwashed masses in those zip codes where you've never gone to look at the bookstores, but those bookstores are still there.
Got it. Where are you unwashed? And why would we want to go there? It sounds smelly. That was a
North,
bad joke.
there's actually a city north of 85th that goes all the way to 145th.
There's an awesome city out there,
and
actually.
it's affordable housing.
No, it's fantastic.
People are a fan of that. So it would thrill me. I took an hour and a half commute from unwashed Northern Green to get here in the rain.
Thank
and
you.
it'll take an hour back.
Yeah.
So I
So-
would love to see you come up to the north.
So I would say this, we're asked this kind of a lot. So once you produce in all these other venues, you're going to keep doing that? And the answer is maybe, but another great outcome is that perhaps we'll have a great alliance with an organization in that community that's already there, and we can help them produce the science lectures or produce, the literary events that we've brought in that time through a creative ongoing collaboration. As far as finding additional places to produce, we're already looking at sort of straying beyond the model that we've established. I don't know how far north of the city we'll end up getting, but know that we are looking already at trying to sort of bust out a little bit further. Thank you. Right way back there. Parts or all of the what? Oh, the organ. Yes, absolutely. The organ, so we were not, after a solid year of serious work, and not just sort of placing an ad of direct outreach to all of the organ clearinghouses, and there are multiple ones in the country where people who are looking for organs can go to get them. We were not able to find a taker for this instrument. So in the end, different pieces of it have gone to different places. Some of the wooden pipes have been actually retained by Town Hall, as has some of the chimes, which, without getting people's hopes up, may find their way to certain cool applications within the building that are musical. More on that perhaps later. But also some of the large pipes have actually been incorporated into an existing organ elsewhere. And some of the wood has been harvested actually from the air chamber. So we did the best we could. The instrument was dismantled essentially, but we did the best we could to preserve almost all of it actually as something that was usable somewhere. So. Yes, right there.
I understand that there's been a big influx of people in their 20s and 30s working for people like Amazon and
For instance.
Microsoft,
Yeah.
and yet they are disproportionately underrepresented in this hall.
Yeah.
How are we going to get the next generation to come to Town Hall?
So a couple of things. That's a great question. I want to hearten you that the audience at Town Hall is younger than you think. That what we actually observe through our surveys is that there's kind of a donut hole in the Town Hall audience where when folks in their late 20s, 30s, early 40s tend to find other preoccupations, sometimes involving families, that's when we see a huge fall off. But we have, it's really heartening. If you attend a science lecture and look, usually the back 2 rows, because what teenager wants to sit in the front, you'll see 20 kids, usually directed there by some killer science teacher, Noah Scallon in West Seattle, or I've forgotten the name of our contact out in Ballard. So a lot of young people are attending our programs, and through college age too. There's actually, the numbers are better than you think, and then there's a big fall off. In terms of getting to young professionals, I don't want to underestimate the potential interest of some folks in it. And we have lots of members who are Microsofties, actually. And we have a handful of members who are Amazonians. But a lot of people at that stage of their career are kind of nose down, focused on their career. And we have found it difficult to use their professional lives as a pathway in. We're working with apartment complexes. That's a strategy that we're trying. Honestly, when we re-enter the building, 2 30-story towers are going in on the south half of the block that'll be market rate apartments that'll end up being taken by a lot of folks who work for both of those entities. And we hope that they will find the community living room on their first floor a very appealing place to spend their time. So that's kind of a half answer for you. It's something we're aware of, but it's also a little better than you think.
One more thing, which we didn't include in this year's annual report, but we did in last year's, is that we did, when we were looking at the demographics of our audience and members, we found that it's pretty evenly split, that 1/3 of our members have only been in Seattle 5 years, another third have been in Seattle 5 to 15 years, and the next third have been in Seattle 15 years or more. So I think it's interesting to see that people, whether they're new to Seattle or who have been in Seattle their entire lives, they're all finding some way to engage at Town Hall. I talked to a woman tonight who has renewed her membership just for a second membership, and she's been in Seattle 2 years and now is on her second membership. So the length of time people have been in Seattle is not necessarily the determinant.
That's a great point.
We have time for one more question, and we have one right up here.
So mine's a twofer. It's a reiteration of what was said earlier about the fact that there is life north of Northeast 50th Street and North 80th Street. We'll be generous, okay? Bryant, Wedgwood, Lake City.
So-
Ballard south of there, they don't count. Anyway, so that's piece one, is that, by the way, the U District Ravenna one is in the U District. It's not in Ravenna, too far south.
Well, we're still
So-
adding venues that haven't popped up yet. but
Okay,
yes.
and the other piece
Yeah.
is that one of the reasons I get people who will not join Town Hall or go is because if you don't live south of the Ship Canal and you don't want to drive in that mess crossing the Ship Canal,
Yeah.
getting to Town Hall is obnoxious. Okay, we
yeah.
won't even screw
Yeah.
around. No, it's
So-
a plain
so-
ordinary
so there are
obnoxious.
two things-
And there's no public transportation there, and there's very little free parking anymore. People don't want to.
well, there are a couple buses
12
actually.
does not work too well.
And there's 49 and 43 come to a block and a half away at the convention center, and so there are actually some great public and the light rail for folks who have access to that. There's actually some pretty great public transportation adjacent. The main thing we're gonna, this sounds like a dodge, but we're actually a really small organization. Believe we're not trying to raise a lot of money for the building. We're a $1.8 million organization, and we simply can't get everywhere in the city that we want to get, and we're going to get to more places than we have. But we aspire to be comprehensive in covering the city, and we won't get to everywhere. But I do want to offer, it's cold comfort because we want you to be physically with us, and we want to make it easy for that to be the case. And when we get back into the building, we'll be advising you on how to park and how to take different forms of not just transit, but other modes and car shares and the like. We've got sort of a whole transportation plan that we're embarking into very soon. But I also want to take this opportunity to remind you that when there's something that you can't make it for, you can still connect with us online. It's not the same, but it's still pretty darn cool. Two ways. You can stream our programs through our web portal, townhallseattle.org. There's audio and video for virtually everything that we produce ourselves on our website. And something else really cool that we've just introduced, we have 3 podcasts, what we call feeds. So there's a civics feed, a science feed, and an arts and culture feed. And you can subscribe to it, and you'll get a prompt every single time we post a talk. It's usually about 48 hours after the talks happen. And that's a way that you can listen to stuff that you're not able to make because you geographically can't get there. We've also we're super excited. We just rolled out a brand new a curated podcast called In the Moment. Steve Scher, formerly of KUOW, is co-hosting with Jenny Palmer. And I think there's 6 episodes in. It's really finding its voice and finding its legs. And if it's hard to get to us, we conceived these tools so that you can stay in touch with us when you can't physically be with us. So we hope you'll take advantage of them. Thank you more than you know for being with us before.